Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new edition of ICICI Direct Investonomic event. In ICICI Direct Investonomic event, which is our flagship thought leadership initiative, we invite market experts to come and share their experience on varied topics related to investment. Today, in this webinar on tax planning, we would like to hear from the expert, Mr. Harish Bihani, on ICICI Prudential Long-Term Saving Fund, which is the ELSS fund. A bit about him would be Harish joined ICICI Prudential AMC in October 2018 with an overall experience of about 15 years. He has worked with SBI Mutual Fund as a senior research analyst. Before getting associated with SBI, he worked with Kotak Institutional Equities, Indiabulls Securities, and Reliance Equities in varying capacity. From his academics, he's completed his MBA in finance from ISB Hyderabad. Welcome, Harish, to this edition. And as per our agenda, we would like to hear about the ICICI Prudential Long-Term Saving Fund.
Sure. So thanks so much, Rajiv, for the opportunity to explain about the ICICI Prudential Long-Term Equity Plan, which is the ELSS fund. What we do in this fund is that we look at the entire universe, the coverage universe that we have internally. We divide the entire coverage into three buckets, or largely two buckets, and one is a bucket which we avoid, which is over and above the coverage that we have. Amongst the three buckets, the first bucket is bucket A. In that bucket, we are looking at quality compounders. We are looking at companies with great management, great promoters who are betting on the right opportunity size.
So Harish, thanks for this orientation about this particular fund. Now, while an investor is looking out, I would be asking you some basic questions, which definitely gives more insight or rather maneuver our discussion on this particular fund. So first, tell me why an ELSS fund as an option should be chosen vis-a-vis all other categories of tax saving instrument what we have. Your thoughts on that?
I think the beauty about this product is that upfront, for a certain ticket size, you get an upfront tax break, right? Second beauty about this product is that it makes you a long-term investor. It forces you to become a long-term investor. You have a 3 years time frame, and within the 3 years time frame, all else being equal, there's a lock-in.
Lock-in on that.
Correct. So when you become a long-term investor, you get a tax break and you become a long-term investor. All else being equal, over a 3 to 4 years rolling period, the chances that you make a reasonable return, all else being equal, there will be volatility, and we can't know for sure it'll happen in 4 years, 5 years, or 6 years. But the chances that you'll make a reasonable return in a longer time frame increases as we kind of increase the number of years. So this is the beauty about the product, that it's a forced saving, it's a forced tax saving, and finally it is a forced long-term compounding machine that you are getting into, which typically when you are younger in terms of your age, or you think about various other commitments, the chances that you won't invest in equity funds is probably lower. But with this forced investment, you become a long-term investor and you can participate in the growth of the country, growth of the companies over the next 3 to 5 years and even longer. So that's the beauty about this particular product. And if you look at longer horizons, which is 5 years plus in this particular category versus any other asset class, excluding the tax break that you've got, you look at the overall return, it's been very decent, which gives comfort that as you extend your time horizon, the overall experience could be fairly decent over time.
Okay. So another parallel questions which will come out is that since this instrument makes logical sense for an investor, how to choose a good ELSS fund? I mean, there is so many options amongst the category.
Sure.
Most of your competitors are having the same category of your fund. So how to choose a good ELSS fund, which an investor will feel it is apt for them?
Sure. There are a couple of things that one investor can do. The first is that he should look at the longevity of the fund manager who has been managing this particular scheme. That will tell you that there's a continuity in the process with which he has been running this particular fund. So the returns, you'll see that there's a cyclicality in return, which happens because of various styles of investing. There's a certain part in the cycle where a certain particular style works, which is called value or growth or whatever. But finally, there are certain style which works. But when you look at the longevity of the fund manager and the process with which he has run the fund and the longevity of the return that he has been able to generate over time, that is where you'll be able to bet that, okay, fine, this particular fund manager might not have given a good return in the near term, but he has been consistently in this particular fund for the past 4 to 5 years or even longer. He has a fairly well-defined process. Is he following the process? And can I kind of look forward to a decent return over time with this particular process and this particular fund manager? And also, you also have to take a call on the overall fund house and the fund management team in that context. So these are some of the parameters that I will look at if I have to invest my money in this particular fund, this particular category. So these are some of the parameters that I would look at fairly strongly.
Okay. So in such a scenario, another basic question which an investor will ask me, why I should choose an IPRU ELSS fund? Why not choose anything else?
Sure. So when you look at our performance over the past couple of years, you would see a patch where maybe it's not at the best at this point in time. Nonetheless, when you look at the intrinsic value of the companies that we have invested in and the returns that these companies have generated in the near term, it kind of gives you a picture that things have not been good so far. But the best part about what ICICI Prudential has been able to deliver is a consistent process led by our CIO. We have a very fairly consistent process, consistent team that has been generating decent alpha over time for various funds, despite this entire cyclicality, which we have seen in other funds too. The fund manager has been there in this particular fund for over 4 years now, which means that with the continuity of the process, continuity of the fund manager, continuity of the fund house, with the able guidance of the CIO and the entire team over time, over 5 years, if all else being equal, things should work out for our fund. I'm sure that there'll be various other funds which will have fairly similar kind of overall narrative in terms of what they have done in terms of people, process, etc. So, but the right thing to do is to stick to what we had discussed earlier in terms of the fund manager process, etc. As long as you like that, over time things should be okay for most fund managers. It's very difficult to forecast with certainty who will do well over the next 5 years. It's just that you can control the process, which is what we are trying to do day in and day out.
So, Harish, while you explain the way you're doing your portfolio construction with bucket A, bucket B, bucket C, kind of a sorting of the stocks, and along with that, the longevity of the returns ideally matters with a fund manager, how long he's in place, and of course, you being heading the small cap fund, and ideally what we have seen a fund which is a ELSS, at times it is more skewed towards large and mid types. However, in your case, it's an expertise of small cap also flavoring in. So from that understanding, what an investor should expect kind of a returns while he stay invested, because ultimate objective stays there. I come, I invest, and I look forward for a returns. Your 2 cents on that?
I think we can't, when you look at how we think internally, we are focused day in and day out on the process. We are focused on the process, which we discussed, is to ensure that you buy good companies in both bucket A and bucket B, which will survive, which are resilient, which are anti-fragile, which will grow at decent rates, where debt is not an issue, where promoters are decent, and which will participate in this entire growth journey of India from a 3.5 to a 10 trillion over the next 12 to 15 years. So if you have those characteristics and you think about the compounding of India's GDP in itself from a 3.5 to a 10 trillion over the next 12 to 15 years, and if you have the right sort of companies in that context, which can compound at least in line with the India GDP and even higher in some cases, and we're targeting obviously higher in most cases, then the longer term journey should be very decent for most investors over time.
Okay. So you gave us a brief understanding on your fund, how you constructed. You gave us your thoughts on why an ELSS makes a better sense amongst all other options. And also you spoke about why IPRU fund. And finally, you gave an indication what can investor should expect when he comes to a portfolio like this. I'm sure the audience over here, whoever will be looking out must have got the answer and must have got the message. Thank you very much, Harish, for joining for this particular call. And I'm sure our investors would have also had the same message.
Thanks, Rajiv. Thanks, Rajiv. Thanks for the opportunity. Bye.
Please note, mutual fund investments are subject to market risk. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to never miss an update from ICICI Direct.